Most Americans are still going about life, investing, and retirement planning as if nothing unusual has happened to our financial system. And few seem to realize the repercussions of the $11 trillion that's been pumped into the U.S. financial system over the past 18 months. At least 4 billionaires have stated publicly that Americans aren't paying enough attention to this development. And now, a former Goldman Sachs banker says sooner than most people think, millions of Americans will potentially be pushed out of the middle class, out of private retirement, and out of a decent life and into a collectivist nightmare he calls financial lockdown. Find out how to protect yourself, your money, and your family with a free copy of this new report. In it, he'll show you the 4 steps he recommends you take immediately. Simply go to 2022wakeup.com to get your free copy. Again, that's 2022wakeup.com for a free copy of this new report.
Welcome to Making Money. This is Matt McCall. Thanks for joining me. It is Tuesday, April 26, 2022. Got a little bit of a special show for you here today. Yesterday, I was in Tampa, Florida, giving a speech to a group of financial advisors. Great group. I spoke to them last year in Chicago, invited me back again. And we talked about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and a lot of educational stuff, because from the aspect of a financial advisor, they have a lot of their clients coming to them, asking questions. So I'm there to help educate them, talk about it. So I thought it'd be very, very important to share that with everybody else in the world, because I think a lot of times the importance of Bitcoin is overlooked by a lot of nonsense out there. So today's show is all about that. Coming up right now, everything you need to know about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Again, this is Matt McCall. Thanks for joining me. It is the 26th here of April 2022. It's a Tuesday. I'm filming this a day prior. I filmed this on the 25th because I'll be flying to London that evening. So by the time you're watching this, I'm probably just getting into London right now, or I'm probably there by now. Oh, I should be there by now, I hope. And then on Wednesday, as I mentioned last week, I'll be going to see the first eVTOL, which is what I call flying cars, a vertical takeoff and landing vehicle, airport. They call it a vertiport in the world, in Coventry, about 2 hours north of London. So I'll be covering that later this week and next week and showing you some videos from that, which would be really fascinating. So excited to do that. But before I jumped on a plane to head across the pond, I wanted to share the presentation that I gave to, as I mentioned, a group of financial advisors on Monday. And so let's take a look here. I'm going to go through some of my slides here with you. And I'm going to go pretty quick, but just I think there's a lot of good educational points in here that I feel that we should cover. I think it will be beneficial to people of all walks and sizes, shapes and sizes, and all walks of life. So let's go into it. So number one, I talk about the interest in Bitcoin. So the percentage of Americans that own Bitcoin the last year, and a lot of these numbers are from Grayscale. They do an annual survey. Is up to 26% in 2021. That's up from 23% in 2020. So give or take about 1 in every 4 Americans actually own Bitcoin. That to me was kind of mind blowing, because you think 26% doesn't sound like a lot, but 1 in 4, that's quite a bit. Over half of all Bitcoin holders just began buying in the last 12 months. So again, that just shows how it's really picking up steam and how more people are getting interested just in the last 12 months. Most of them are considered buy and holds, about 70%. I'm in that category of buy and hold. And in the last 12 months, obviously, the reason a lot of people came in was, Bitcoin did rally to 69,000. Right now, when I'm taping this, it's around 39,000 and change. So it's well off those highs, but people are still buying and holding, which I find bullish long-term, that it's become a true asset class. And then this little graph over here on the side, it shows the perception of Bitcoin. It's become more favorable over the last year. You can see on the right-hand side, somewhat more favorable, much more favorable, and then much less favorable, only 2% on the left-hand side, and somewhat less favorable, 8%. So you're looking at a difference of 44% to 10% on the favorable side just here in the last year. The next one I take a look at here, next slide, is that more investors are ready to invest. And as more investors begin to open up to Bitcoin, these naysayers, they just continue to decrease. And what I really liked about this was in 2019, the response for Bitcoin, 36% people said definitely, and they probably would buy Bitcoin. That's up to 59 now in the last 2 years. But what's even more important is the bottom row here. that shows definitely and probably would not buy Bitcoin. 34%, so 1 in 3 in 2019, that has dropped to 15%. So that shows how many more people out there, 19% of the population of this survey, have gone from basically never buying it to now moving up to might or might not, even up to maybe definitely and probably would buy it. And again, you're seeing a major shift right now in people embracing Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin ETFs. I think in the next 12 to 18 months, there will be a Bitcoin ETF that will be approved, a spot Bitcoin ETF, meaning it tracks the price of Bitcoin as it moves from second to second, 24/7. And 77% of investors said they'd be more willing to invest in Bitcoin if an ETF existed. Just think about that. That's a large number of people that if and when, I should say, an ETF comes out that tracks the spot price of Bitcoin, you're going to see a lot of money flowing into Bitcoin, which obviously will be great for the price. Last October, ProShares did launch an ETF, the ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF, symbols BITO. They got 1.13 billion in assets under management now. The expense ratio is 0.95%. However, this doesn't track the spot price and invest in Bitcoin futures. So it's not always going to be a perfect tracking because futures are priced differently. Futures expire if they're rolled out to the next month. So there's some other things that are going on there. And then the big fund out there right now is a Grayscale fund, symbols GBTC. They filed to switch their fund to an ETF with the SEC. I don't know if it's going to go through right now, but Grayscale's been really good at kind of pushing the SEC to adopt a true spot ETF. And again, I think it will happen at some point in the future, but keep in mind, it's the government. So things move very, very slow. So what is the case here for Bitcoin, many people ask? And number one, I think anybody can agree, whether you're left, right, center, or apolitical, that the central banks are out of control. It's what you call fiat money, fiat currencies, which is the dollars, euros, the yen, etc. Continue to print money, especially here in the United States. The printing press has been working overtime for many, many years, and that leads to inflation, which we have right now at a 40-year high. So yeah, they are a bit to blame for this, yes. I'm not an anti-Fed or anti-central bank person, but I don't think they've done the best job. So that makes a case for Bitcoin because Bitcoin cannot be manipulated. Remember that there's a certain amount of supply, 21 million coins. There's already been over 19 million mined. The next less than 2 million, nearly 2 million, will be mined in, I think, like the next 95 to 100 years. So spread out. So you have supply that is a definite number. You have demand, I just showed you, is increasing. So eventually that's simple economics 101, folks, and that means that the price of Bitcoin will move higher over time, if I'm correct. That supply doesn't change, which it won't. We know that. It's stagnant at best. It's going to continue little by little add to the supply we have out there. And if I'm right about demand, it will eventually lead to higher prices. Eventually, the old guard will move on. And that's Buffett, and Jimmy Dimon, Fink over at BlackRock. I saw Peter Thiel, one of the first outside investor on Facebook, co-founder of PayPal, Palantir. I mean, the guy's one of the legends out in Silicon Valley. He spoke at the Bitcoin conference in Miami a few weeks ago, and he put out basically the enemy number one and talked about Buffett and some of these older guys that are so anti-Bitcoin. But eventually the old guard does move on. And eventually you'll see younger people start being the faces of the industry. And a lot of them are pro-Bitcoin. Even some big names like Peter Thiel himself, Ray Dalio, he's in, Paul Tudor Jones, Bill Miller. They're all the old guard, but they're embracing Bitcoin, which is really nice to see. I mentioned supply demand. And finally, the other case for it is it's a store of values replacement for gold. You all know that my views on gold right now, I'm anti-gold. And I talked about this to the group of advisors here just a few hours ago, and I had them laughing because there were some guys in there and women that like gold, but I was making fun of it, and it was pretty fascinating to see. How high will Bitcoin go? I put this slide in because Kathy Wood from ARK Invest spoke with Michael Saylor, who's the CEO of MicroStrategies. They did one of the keynotes at the Bitcoin conference. And I'm sitting there taking notes and listening to Kathy and Michael talk. And Kathy's basically come out and said, and this is a base case that their ARK Invest has made outside of that conference too. They put a paper out on it. But if 2.5% of institutional money moves into Bitcoin, that demand will be so high that it will lead to a base case scenario of $2 million per Bitcoin. I think that's extremely, extremely high. I don't think that's realistic. But I do think that it will lead to much higher prices in the next 1, 3, 5, 10 years of Bitcoin. I just think 2 million is a little crazy. I would hope that it goes there because I would be very happy because with my Bitcoin, but I don't think that's realistic. But I wanted to put out there it's like a head shaker, kind of wakens you up. A chart that I showed just to kind of go against the people that are so pro gold, and I went back to May of 2020. That's when inflation was at 0.12%. We all know it's at a 40-year high at 8.5% now. So you can see that is the purple line over here. The purple line as goes up, that is of inflation going from 0.12 to 8.5. So I also plotted gold and I plotted Bitcoin. Well, you can see here gold in that time frame has gone up 16%. Sure, not bad at all. Stocks are down that time frame. And then we looked at Bitcoin. Even though Bitcoin is well off its high, over 40% off its high, it still was up 351% in that time frame. So you tell me, what is a better inflation hedge here, Bitcoin or gold? I think the numbers speak for themselves. A few things, I put these little glasses on. This shows the percentage of the audience who definitely or probably would consider Bitcoin investment. So from 2020 to 2021, the biggest gains in gender, female up 6%. I mean, females are the smartest people out there. The age, 55 to 64. Went from 30% to 46%, huge gain. So you're seeing now that the older crowd really start to embrace Bitcoin. And then the investing risk tolerance. Look at this. Again, where's the big gain down here? In the conservatives, the big gain in conservatives. So what you're doing is you're seeing the groups of people that you typically are the more conservative, the more risk averse, female, older, and conservatives by nature, investing, all becoming more interested in Bitcoin. That's why I think, again, more demand, higher prices, folks. And some investment opportunities. This is Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, and I've talked about that a lot in the past. This is really I just talked about it before, it's the fund that tracks the price of Bitcoin, trying to switch over to an ETF. Expense ratio is about 2% or is 2%. It trades about a 23% discount to the value of actual Bitcoin. And what's really crazy is in 2017, this was really a first and only way to buy Bitcoin outside of actually owning the coins themselves for people in the stock market. It traded at a premium of 132%, meaning the price of these shares were worth 132% more than the actually underlying Bitcoin that is tracking. Now it's a discount. And a lot of people say that's because if ETFs a spot ETF does get approved by the SEC, people take their money out of this. But it's again, trading at a very, very big discount. There's another one that came out last year, Bitwise 10 Crypto Index Fund. Very similar. It's a fund. It's not an ETF. Symbol's BITW. It's made up of 10 different coins. Bitcoin and Ethereum make up majority of it. Bitcoin makes about 61%, Ethereum 28%. Also trades at a big discount of 35% and has an expense ratio pretty high at 2.5%. And then the last one here on this slide is MicroStrategies, MSTR, which is a tech company. But Michael Saylor, who I mentioned, he spoke with Cathie Wood at the Bitcoin conference. They've been buying up Bitcoin with the money that they had, and by borrowing more money to buy Bitcoin. And they spent close to $4 billion to acquire Bitcoin over the last few years. The average price that they bought is about $30,700. And Saylor came out last week and he said, listen, we are basically a spot Bitcoin ETF because your majority of their assets right now are in it, and you're just basically tracking their shares basically track right now the price of Bitcoin almost hand in hand. So it's a way to gain exposure to Bitcoin without direct exposure to buying actual Bitcoin through the stock market. Another one is Coinbase. Obviously, many of you know about Coinbase. It is one of the largest, not the largest. It is the largest by market cap, pure digital currency exchange out there, worth about $29 billion. And I showed a chart here going back to when it went public, and it is in the purple line, and the orange line is Bitcoin. You can see how it trades basically hand in hand until just the last few months. It's really fallen off versus Bitcoin. But again, I see this as a great opportunity because this will probably narrow, which means it's going to got to come up and outperform Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin goes back to a high at some point next year or two, and this should go back to a high with it. Trades about 3.4 times future sale 12-month sales. PE ratio 23.9. The one caveat is growth is slowing a bit. But overall, this is a leader and a good proxy if you want to gain exposure to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Another one I put in is Marathon Digital Holdings, MARA. It's about a $1.9 billion company. It's a Bitcoin miner. It offers leverage and trades about 1.5 times sales, PE ratio 3.9, so insanely low. I did a very similar chart where you could see when Bitcoin rallied to an all-time high, how much more Marathon went up. And again, very highly leveraged. So as Bitcoin goes down, this usually underperforms. When it goes up, it outperforms. So it's basically similar. It's a way to gain leverage, really, for Bitcoin. And the last one I put in there, disregard this chart. It's a wrong chart. But this is Silvergate Capital, which is SI, which is basically the leading crypto bank. It's about a $4 billion company. Trades 7.5 times sales, PE ratio 18.1. So kind of mixed. It's been underperforming Bitcoin as of late, but this is a nice way to gain exposure to, again, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. They help facilitate payments. They have great blockchain technology. They also work with a lot of the crypto exchanges to help them bank. And so you're really, it's kind of a secondary play on the booming future of digital assets. So I hope you enjoyed that all. I wanted to put that out there and share this because I put a lot of time into these presentations. Mine lasted an hour, so I went very fast here. I took a lot of questions, but I hope that helped because again, and I stress this with the advisors I spoke to today is education is so important, and they need to educate their clients just like I need to educate my subscribers and my viewers and my readers and everybody who follows me. And that's what I'm here for, to educate you. And we're going to have fun along the way, as I always say. It's number 2. And number 3, making money will happen. That education, that having fun will lead to making money. Trust me. Over time, invest in solid companies, solid cryptos, whatever it might be, solid investments, and you will make money over time. So I want to thank you so much. If you have any feedback, please put your comments below, follow, like the video, and we'll be back Thursday. I need to get going now because I need to get out of this suit coat, get on some comfy clothes, get to the airport because I'm about to fly to Frankfurt before I get to London out of Tampa here in a couple hours. So thank you so much for watching. Once again, this is Matt McCall, and that was Making Money.
Opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the contributor and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Stansberry Research, its parent company, or affiliates.